Welcome to Let's Relieve Regret, the uplifting podcast where we talk about how to relieve what you're worrying about.
It can feel so good to finally let go. Let go of past hurts, let go of old grudges, let go of self-doubt, self-shame.
The thing is, we aren't always given the tools to let go. We're told to get over it, or it's time to move on. But how do we do that?
We will share our stories, tools, and strategies of how we let go to help you let go.
Let's begin. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Relieve Regret podcast. My name is Victoria Muir-Bercia, and I'm one of your co-hosts, and I'm joined by my partner in crime and co-host, Shadow Ball.
Hi.
Oh, I cut you off from saying your name, Shadow.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
I'm joined by
Shadow Ball.
And we have a guest today. Yay. We love having guests. We've had such amazing guests last season, and we have a lineup of such amazing guests this season, everybody. So we're joined today by Amanda Russo. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Amanda Russo. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
And Amanda is also known as the breathing goddess, which I'm so interested to ask you a few questions about. She's a breathwork facilitator, mindset specialist, and host of the Mander's Mindset podcast. And she's dedicated to helping people gain clarity and shift their mindset through their breath. When I read your bio, I was like, I'm so excited because totally want to learn a bit from you. And I think we connect in many ways too. At the end of this podcast, we do 3 breaths of letting go, and feel free to critique them offline after and let me know. And where are you calling in from the world, Amanda?
Massachusetts right now.
Massachusetts, welcome. What's spring like there for you?
It's been really nice.
Yeah?
Not bad. Like 60s.
We're getting frost tonight.
It's one night. It's fine.
I know. I had a friend that was like, should I be pruning my hydrangeas? And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, no, there's frost. No. So yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's always a lot of early gardeners in April. Like, I don't even garden, but I feel like I see this warning every year about like, don't touch it. Like, just wait till May.
Just wait till May. And we're almost there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If you're listening to this in real time, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why don't we start with our check-in? Shadow, how are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 10?
I could say about a 7 out of 10. Like, not great, not bad, just, living.
That's pretty good.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So that's where I'm saying I'm at. I'm at about a 7 out of 10 today.
Amanda, how are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm at a 9.
Oh, amazing.
I made a decision I've been on the fence about today, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, it doesn't feel so good to be decisive.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I struggle with as a person with anxiety and like functional freeze is like, what do I wear today? But when it's big decisions, doesn't it feel good to make big decisions? Yeah.
Yes. I am someone who sees all sides to everything. So yeah.
All right. Man, what am I going to give myself? We had a 7 and a 9. I'm like leaning towards 8 just to round it out because my mind likes to make things into
but
pretty
how do you
packages.
really feel? How do you really
if you didn't hear either of
exactly.
us, if you didn't hear either of us say it, how are you on a 1 to 10?
Yeah, I think I'd probably give myself like a 7.5, let's say. Okay. I'm a few things. For those of you that have listened to the last episode of our last season, was the Me Too episode where I told my Me Too story, and I've been being really kind to myself. We released it 2 weeks ago, and I've been just being really kind and gentle with myself, just in general in my day-to-day life, because I think I did realize, but I didn't realize. I'm really happy and proud to tell the story, and happy and proud of how Shadow and I formatted that episode. But I also knew afterwards that I was going to need like mental health and emotional health recovery time. So I'm going to give myself a 7.5. and my allergies are killing me. So you may hear me blow my nose, everybody, or you may hear it in my throat, but it's just the trees are literally pollinating. They started like yesterday, and I'm a little snotty, everybody.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, but I'm proud of how I've been really kind to myself and gentle to myself over the past like couple weeks. And yeah,
Nice.
it's been good. So that might even be my cause for applause, is that I'm really proud that I've just slowed myself down and done kind of the bare minimum with my workload, which I can do because I own my own business, but been taking lots of nice slow walks and not on the walk being like, I have to get to my 10,000 steps, or I should be walking faster, and just being slow on my walks and being kind and treating myself to nice cups of tea and nice little treats and those sorts of things. So that's my cause for applause, is that I'm proud of myself for the healing process that I've given myself over the past couple weeks.
Nice.
Shadow,
It's
do you
really
have a cause for applause?
Yeah. It's so interesting. I had one planned, and then you said all that lovely stuff. So I also want to change it to I recently did something emotionally exhausting, and when I came back to like my home base, I thought I'd bounce back like right away. I was like, oh, I like, you know, it was fine. But then even being back at home, there was lots of positive changes. So that was draining as well.
Oh,
So like
interesting.
it was like I kind of went to this really like emotionally heavy experience, came home, got to go through a very emotionally light experience, but because that experience represents so much change, I'm still pretty tired. So the last couple nights I've gone to bed early and it's been really nice. Like I'm I'm much more comfortable being a night owl and not getting like lots of sleep. But I've been, yeah, just really kind of taking care of myself as well in that way. And it feels good to recognize that I need to do that sometimes too. So slowing down, I'll say, is my cause for applause.
Yeah, it feels good to kind of be in control of that. Like, I think you and I have some similar things. We've talked about like rejection sensitivity dysphoria, but also the opposite of that. I always get it wrong. What is it, Shadow? Recognition.
Recognition
You
response euphoria.
recognition response
So I don't
euphoria.
know what the I forget what the
Yeah, I
second
think
R
you're
is,
right.
but
Have you ever heard of this, Amanda? Rejection sensitivity dysphoria or recognition response euphoria?
Yes. I can't like pinpoint what they are, but I recognize the names.
Yeah,
nice.
so they go along with ADHD, and I don't have ADHD, but I was recently diagnosed with these two things as well. And it's like when you feel rejected, you almost feel it like as pain in your body, like your brain mistakes the rejection and puts it into your pain sensors in your brain. And so like really simple rejections or failures that other people might bounce back from really quickly, it takes you a longer time to get over them. You might ruminate on them, but you might also actually like feel it in your body, like I feel achy or whatever. But then the opposite side of that is like a recognition euphoria, where you get like a huge dump of like dopamine and adrenaline and excitement, and it feels really great. So I guess the reason I bring it up, Shadow, is like you had like something good happen. Do you think that you went from being in this really stressful place to like, oh, dopamine? And yeah,
Yeah. So it was just like kind of like a roller coaster, and like that's okay. And now I'm like back to just feeling like more base level, which is nice. And I'm starting to recognize that I need those times too, you know? So
yeah, that's what I
like,
mean. Like I used to ride the dopamine and then I'd be so
right,
tired after, but now I'm like slow, like
right.
small and steady, like
Yeah.
slow and steady. I don't have to ride the dopamine, and I don't have to come down
Hmm.
from it quickly and then bounce back to something else. I can be kind and gentle with myself after
Yeah.
the exciting thing, and also kind and gentle to myself after the not so exciting things that don't
Hmm.
feel great. Yeah,
Yeah.
to do it in both ways. Yeah. So that's huge, Shadow. That's like a
Thank you.
double cause for applause. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yay. Amanda, do you have a cause for applause that you want to share?
I would say my cause for applause is I received an opportunity kind of last minute to attend a trip to Bali. If
Whoa.
I booked the plane ticket, and I'm going to Bali next week, and I am so excited. So yeah,
Bumps for you. Oh my god.
yeah, I'm psyched.
So that is a huge cause for applause.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like the
so
way you
excited.
shared that too, which is kind of like, oh, you know, it's just this casual like Bali trip. I guess that's
Yay! How
That's
long
so
are you going
exciting.
for?
It's about 10 days. It's a
Oh,
pretty,
wow.
yeah, it's a little bit.
How long does it take to fly to Bali?
It's
It's
pretty
long, right?
long. Yeah. I
Is it
got to
like
take
10
a,
hours or something?
oh no, the shortest one I could find was like 23 hours.
Oh, it is. It's literally like flying to Australia. Okay.
Because it's New Australia, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
gotta go for, I say if you go anywhere like longer than a 12 or 13-hour flight, you gotta go more than 7 days because you're gonna have jet lag too, right? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Are you going to
Yeah.
be doing work stuff there or is this just vacation
Oh,
stuff?
hell no. I'm going on a yoga retreat. I hope I can swear
Amazing.
on this. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, no, you can swear for
absolutely.
sure. For sure you can. So you're kind of going to be like you do breath work stuff, but you're doing it for you. You're not doing it to
Yeah.
learn for your
Yeah,
business like you're
I'm not
doing.
facilitating. I'm not
Yeah.
teaching. I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Wow, we got some really good causes for applauses today. I literally have like a big smile and like goosebumps from those. Those are all
Mhm.
amazing. Are you ready to get into it, everyone?
Yeah.
I am.
All right, Shadow, you're going to share first. So, do you have a
Mhm.
preamble that you want to say before you share your regret?
I do. So usually I am very good about sharing like past regrets and all the time I've spent like, ruminating on it, but I'm actually pivoting a little bit today to address a fear instead of a regret.
Okay, I love it.
Because the fear is actively impacting my life now, um, versus something from my past. So that's my preamble, and I can just jump right in.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, great. So I have a fear I need to let go of in order to move forward. My fear is that I am afraid of filming video content. I'm still working on being comfortable at looking myself in still image, so video seems like way too much of a jump. The consequence I'm missing out on this is that I'm aware that the key to growth is visibility. And honestly, I feel ready to level up in my business and for this podcast. And for this podcast, I had to get more comfortable with the sound of my own voice. But again, video still seems like a step too far, a bit too much of a challenge for me. And I keep finding all these outside excuses, such as, like, oh, well, I don't really have a very good phone, or there's too much of a security risk to film around my neighborhood, or if I film at this like public shared space, I'm annoying other people. If I'm really truly honest with myself, what I'm actually scared of is looking ugly and looking foolish. And that is who I am right now. And each day I do grow and I do get more comfortable in my own skin. But the fear of looking ugly and foolish holds me back in creating video content. And the other thing I want to mention here is that I am seeking reassurance today, but the reassurance is not about my looks. The reassurance I'm really looking for is that it's okay to wait until I'm ready to take this leap. I know that in the future, this is something I'm going to look back on and say, oh, I really wish I started this sooner. But I need to forgive myself for where I'm at right now. Like, I can look at pictures of myself, I can listen to my voice on this podcast. So I know that this is coming. It's just taking a little bit longer than I want it to. And if I don't forgive myself for where I'm at right now, it will just add this other layer of regret that I'm going to have to like push through to get to the other side. And that's just going to make this even harder to get to. So I'm curious and relieved because I know I'm capable of practicing this skill and worthy of it being bad at first. I can also trust my inner intuition to make sure I'm taking on new challenges at a steady pace.
Thank you, Shadow. Would you like feedback or do you just want to be heard?
If it was just the two of us, I would say I only want to be heard, but because we have a guest, I want to encourage open dialogue. So let's do some feedback.
Okay. And Amanda, jump in whenever you want.
I think it's I think it's great that you're aware of the fear. That's the first step.
Because I keep filming stuff and being like, post, not post, post, not post, post, not post. Like, so I know it's like I'm ready to do it. It's like have you ever, okay, I'm going to share a really embarrassing story.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was just telling this story to my brother's girlfriend because she's never been to this pool in my hometown. And the pool in my hometown, I mean, there's lots of pools, but this one pool has like the Olympic size diving boards.
Yeah.
And you could jump off them as long as you had like the proper training or whatever. And I remember being in like ninth or 10th grade, so pretty old, honestly. And I kept running to the end of the diving board and stopping myself. I kept like getting there and stopping. And I did like 5 times in a row and I couldn't do it. I couldn't jump off. But you were also, if you walked up, you weren't allowed to walk back down. They've changed that rule now.
No
But
way.
like that was not allowed when I was that age. And guys, I wish I was kidding. I literally started peeing myself on the diving board.
I can't believe they said you weren't allowed to walk back down. That's crazy.
Jumping off eventually and it wasn't that scary, but like that's almost like I don't know why, but like that's almost what this video thing feels like to me. It's like I'm running to the end of the diving board and I'm not able to jump off. And I don't know if it's related or it's just like it's been in my mind recently. But
I
that's
relate to that.
yeah.
Not my community pool, but when I was doing swimming lessons, they
Mhm.
had the regular ones, and then there was one really big one. And I
Yeah,
said to myself, I'm gonna do it one day. I'm gonna do it one
totally.
day. And I still think about it now. And that was probably like 17 years ago, maybe
Right?
more. Oh, it was more. And I still think
Yeah.
about it. Why did I not go up? Why did I not do it?
Well,
You know
yeah, but
what's
okay, I did go up and I had that happen instead. So I don't know, maybe you had a
I just
better
like I'm
approach.
sorry, I'm still like ruminating on the fact that they would not let you come down. So I think I've told you the story before, Shadow, but
Yeah,
Christian and I, my husband Amanda, when we first met, we met because we were running day camps for
right.
kids in like in the middle of like downtown Toronto in an at-risk neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so we would take these kids on these day trips all over the city and all these
Mhm.
incredible places. But one of them was we have an Olympic pool down on the beach here. So it almost looks like an infinity pool looking out onto the beach, but
Mm.
you're swimming in the pool. And it's an outdoor pool and it has the 5 meter and 10 meter.
Mhm.
And whenever you go, there's camp time, right? To public pools here. So like it's just full of like all these day camps from like 2 to 4 or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And Christian and I would sit and watch the kids go up the 5 meter, the 10 meter.
Right.
And we would be like, this kid's going to jump. This kid's not going to jump. This kid's going to jump. But they were allowed to come back down. Right.
Right.
And then you just see all the other kids in line being like, come on,
Right,
Ralphie,
exactly.
do it. Right.
Yeah.
Like, kids are just like, and like, it was amusing. Okay. I'm going to say it was
Yeah.
amusing.
Yeah.
It's like, we love doing it. But I couldn't imagine if there was a rule that the kids weren't allowed to come back down because then
Victoria,
the kids in line would be yelling at that kid even more. They'd be like, just get out. Like there'd be the peer pressure too.
okay, but I wasn't a kid. I don't think you caught that I said I was in grade 9 or 10. Not that I was
Oh
9
yeah,
or
I'm
10.
thinking like 9 and 10 year olds.
I was like an adult. I was like
Like it's
14, 15
high.
years old. Like like you can't, like if you make a commitment to walk to the end of the diving board, you better be ready to jump off. And that's,
Okay,
I
let
don't
me
know
say
why, but
something.
making video content feels like that to me.
We tell ourselves as adults that we're adults and we can do anything and we made a
Yeah,
commitment. But there's so many things in life that we say we made a commitment to do and we don't do. Okay, so
right.
let's get back to the video thing
Sure.
because we totally
Yeah.
divulged, like diverted onto
Divulged. Yeah, I see what you
totally
did there,
dived
Victoria.
into that story. I want to say something. You don't have to say anything back.
Yeah.
But do you remember the episode when I was talking about my scar?
Yeah.
And I said, it's because I want to get it fixed because it'll make me healthier and whatever. Because there's problems with my scar. I had a big, huge surgery, Amanda, and I have like a 10 centimeter like vertical scar on my abdomen. I'm having problems with it. And Shadow, you said to me, you know what, Victoria, I'm going to give you permission to say that it's ugly because you don't have to be like, this is my battle wound and it's okay that I have the scar. If you think
Right.
it's ugly, you can say it's ugly and you want to get
Right.
it fixed too as part of that process. So you don't have to say anything because I know that we're working on receiving compliments.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
also want to validate that you are gorgeous. Okay.
Ugh,
You're beautiful
gross.
and gorgeous. Yeah. I
Thank
knew you were
you.
going to say gross, but I'm
Yeah.
still going to do it because I love you.
Yeah. But that's because you know
And
who I am on the inside. And I know that that's very silly and superficial, but like everyone loves me if they get to know me, like duh. but like to make a video and actually put my face out there like feels
What do you
weird. And
think? What do you think when you, because I know you have like certain people that you love to follow that are in
sure,
the body positivity or body,
roughly, yeah, yeah, body
what's
positive
the,
community, like,
yeah,
yeah,
right? And when you look at their posts, or when they're people living in a larger body, when you
sure.
look at their posts, what do you think? Do you judge them right
Like,
away? Do you think they're ugly, or you're
no,
like, wow, this is a great post? Like, what do you think?
yeah,
What's
like
your
I think
reaction?
good for them. Like I usually think good for them and like, oh, like that's cool that they have that and that's not something I can do. Because it's not just about my looks either. It's about like the idea and it being fresh and it being like interesting to watch and like also all the production that has to go into it. Like you have to have captions and you have to have this and you have to have like a little surprise moment. And like I feel like I'm falling behind really quickly because I'm not doing it. But that's why, like, part of my regret was like, I need to forgive myself for where I'm at now because to say like I'm falling behind of all the production is just another like exterior excuse,
But you're
right?
falling behind of whose expectations?
I think just the general like zeitgeist,
Right. But
like
like you
as
get
like,
to choose, you get to
yeah,
decide how fast you move in building your business. You get to
yeah,
decide these things, right? And one thing I learned too, because I can tell you that I felt exactly the same way a while ago,
mm,
is one of the best things I've learned is to just put something up, even if it's
mm,
imperfect. Like I'll
right.
literally just, and to habit stack it, which was a way that I kind of forced myself to do it, is like when I go on my walk every day, I try and make like a 30-second or 1 minute post of just like what I'm thinking. And then I just
Mm,
post it right away.
right.
I'm just like, whatever. Or I'm on my walk and I have a thought and I'm like, okay, I'm going to share this thought that I just had about radical self care or this thought that I
Mm,
had about
hmm
this. Right. And then I get those ones up regularly. And then the other ones I spend time curating and whatever. But because I'm getting the ones up regularly that are just like, these 30 seconds, this is Victoria's life. And, or I'm like, oh, look at this seagull flying or whatever it is. You've seen my posts on my
hmm
Instagram.
hmm
There's some curated ones of me teaching some brain fitness exercises or me teaching, you know, a mindfulness thing or something. And then there's other posts that are like, this is what I'm thinking today, or look at this amazing
mm,
thing that I just saw in nature or whatever. And once I got into the habit of doing those off the cuff ones, it became more comfortable. And I mean, this is unfortunately, like I say this a lot, like Nike has the best slogan, just do it. Sometimes we have
right.
to just do it, right? But that
hmm
was the easiest way for me. I'm like, I'm habit stacking it with my walk. So I'm going on a walk and I'm doing that video. And if you want proof in the pudding, Shadow, you did that because I know that I bullied you into making a post on the Let's Relieve Regret Instagram account, everybody. I will admit that I totally bullied
You
Shadow
did not bully
in
me.
my,
That's
like,
so
this is this
funny.
thing when Shadow and I first met. We've told this story before. This other woman introduced us and she was telling Shadow about me. She's like, she's pushy but in a good way. So I know that I was pushy but in a good way with you, Shadow. But that
Uh-huh.
post, Shadow put up a post. It's like, I don't want to be doing this, I'm making a post. And then she posted it, right?
Yeah.
And that post got so many views, so many comments, so many likes, right?
hmm
So lean on that, know that that's
Yeah.
there.
I also just feel like that was such a
And
good cop out, right? And then like you can't just it's not like all your posts can just be cop outs. So that's the other thing. Like I'll get there. I know I will.
what if you do a
But
cop out one twice a week? I do the cop out. You can call it a cop out if you want, but I call it my
right.
moment of joy. So I try to post
Yeah.
every 30 seconds of something joyful.
Oh yeah,
Amanda, with
that's
your
nice.
business, has this been a challenge for you to figure out how to post and posting? Do you post videos? I'm curious. What do you do?
I do. It has been a little bit of a challenge, even with navigating and weaving like the breathwork business with the podcast and
Mm-hmm.
the posting both
Yeah.
and intertwining the two and not too much of this and not too much of that and making it a balance. Also, I do want to add, you know, speaking of breathwork, I was asked recently on a podcast how I handle when people don't like breathwork because I am the breathing
Mm,
goddess.
right.
And you're not for everybody. Not
Right.
everybody's going to like the
Yes.
clips. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing I had to get over. Like, I'm not for everybody. Not everybody's going to like my
hmm
podcast. Not everybody's going to agree with what I have to say. And that's okay. Maybe I'm not for
Right.
you. You
Yeah.
know, And that's the same with you. We're not for
Mhm.
everybody, you know. You don't want
Mhm.
everybody to like you, even though majority of people do. You don't want
Sure.
everybody.
Yeah. Well, and I think I let the voices of like the people who might not like me stop me from doing it
Mhm.
at all. And like, like I don't put anything out for like let's say let's take 10, right? We've used 10 a lot in this. So let's say there's even just two people out of the 10 who would like it. I'm not putting out anything for them because I'm scared of like the other three who might be like, ew, you suck. And then there's like all these people in the middle who don't care either way. you know um but I still feel so scared of those three people as opposed to like maybe considering those three people as people who just they don't really care what it is. They're just gonna like try and tear you down anyway. That's what their hobby is tearing people down.
But guess
So
what you can do? You can hide their comments or delete them because
true,
you
true.
own the thing, right? But is
Yeah.
it more like, first of all, I haven't had any negative comments at all since I
Mm-hmm.
started posting once a day. So my goal starting January 1st was to post once a day for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took the last week off. Like as I said, I've been gentle. So I was like, I'm not posting anything on Instagram and I'm going to start
Mm-hmm.
posting again next week. I haven't had a single negative comment
Right.
on anything that I posted, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
like the majority of people out there aren't
Yeah.
going to be that, right? I think it's like when you get really big and you have like your meta verified and you have a million followers, there's going to be those things. But in the beginning, you can kind of just lean on the positivity and the
Mm-hmm.
positive feedback that you're getting.
Yeah, and I guess I think I start also thinking about people who are being silent and maybe saying things like, "Who does she think she is?" Like I want to watch this reel or like stuff like that too. It's not
Are
even.
the people that you think are being saying that, or are you saying that to yourself?
No, I'm saying I'm anticipate like it's an anticipatory thing. Like
But
again, I'm
why would
really
you think that people think that? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it really you thinking, judging
I
yourself?
don't know. I don't know because I'm bad. I'm
Well,
bad on the inside.
yeah. And the thing, you know that saying, like, it's none of your business what other people think of you.
hmm
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
but
Easier said than done,
it's
but
so much easier
absolutely.
said than done. But can I like ask another connection too? Is it almost like a preemptive what if into rejection sensitivity to avoid the feelings of the rejection
Mm.
sensitivity? So you're trying to preemptively protect yourself instead of going to the edge and jumping.
Don't even
Yeah.
go up the stairs at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it because like yeah. So
What
yeah.
if what about if you just posted on your stories and they deleted because you know your stories delete after 24 hours?
Mm,
What if you started
mm-hmm.
that way? Instead of making it a
Maybe.
I
reel and a
like
big
that
thing, what if
suggestion.
you just were like, okay, for 10 days
Mm,
in a row, I'm just gonna post on my stories and
right.
Even
not,
if you don't do 10 days, even if you
yeah,
do
or
5.
five. Yeah, five
Yeah.
days. I'm just
Oh,
gonna post
wow.
I'm
stories.
James.
Thank
I
you, Amanda. That's right. Let's
I'm
make
big
it
on
small and
starting
slow and
small,
simple.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
small little things. Like if even if you're cleaning your bedroom, if you don't have the mental capacity to clean the whole bedroom, clean a
hmm
corner of it.
Yes.
Right.
You're doing part of it, and you will
Yeah.
still get a little bit of that dopamine hit because you
Dopamine.
did it.
Yeah.
hmm
You did it.
hmm
You kept the promise to yourself. You didn't let yourself down. You still did
Right.
it. You started small. It will delete, but you still
Yeah.
did it.
hmm Yeah, that's a good
And like
idea.
the reality is that most people don't comment on stories. Most people comment on reels, right? Like they
hmm
flip through the stories and they see them and you'll get a like
Right.
usually, but you don't get a lot of comments on stories. You mostly get comments on reels. So what if you just started
hmm
with like, yeah, for 5 days, I'm gonna post something on stories for 30 seconds. And it's think of it as practice. The
hmm
same way you made that, I don't want to do this, I don't like it on the Relieve Regret Instagram
Yeah.
account, right? Think of it as practice or practice it on the Relieve Regret account because everybody
Right.
listening is going to give you positive feedback the way that they did
True.
when you made that one post, right? But what if it's just
hmm
stories?
Right. Maybe. Yeah. Again, I don't know what it is about the freezing though, because like just yesterday I was at exhibition and we missed the train we wanted, but another one was coming in half an hour. So then I like have my phone out and I'm like doing like just silly like little walkabouts, like waiting for the GO train. And then I was just like, man, this is too silly. So I just deleted it. Because it
But
just didn't
that's
make
like
any
perfect
sense.
for a story because it's
Right. But like
showing
I didn't
people
even
you.
yeah, but like I literally deleted it from my phone. Like I didn't even post it because I was just like, this is silly. Who wants to watch this?
Can I
Uh,
ask another curious question?
hmm
Do you think part of that is your ADHD brain being like, I have to make it perfect and make all the check marks? Or do you think it's more actually the limiting belief or excuses?
I think it's more the limiting belief because
Okay.
it's like, again, I can be like, I know one-on-one or two-on-one or in small groups, I'm funny, but then like to put the camera in front of my face and be like, be funny. I'm like, oh no.
But why does it have to be funny? Why can't it just be real?
I think being funny is tied to being worthy.
Yeah, which we've discussed a lot on this
Yeah,
podcast, right?
yeah.
The reality is that like you are, what am I going to say, Shadow? You are
You
worthy
are
just
worthy
by
just
being
because
a
you're a
human being
human
on
being.
face of this planet. Yeah, right? You are worthy just because you are, right? But I think so that's interesting. I think you just hit a really good point, Shadow, and I think that's good for you because you've been working on letting go of
Yeah.
that. Is like being funny doesn't mean that you're worthy. So what if you just put anything up? Right? For
Yeah.
what if just like for 5 days or even 3 days, you're just like, this is how I feel today, done. This is
Right.
how I feel today, done. This is how
Right.
I feel today, done.
Yeah. I could try and I will try and yeah.
I have one last comment, and then
Okay.
Amanda, if you
Okay.
have another comment, this might be kind of a weird comment, but like I loved your excuses. Like
Yeah.
it's a security risk
Yeah.
videoing in my neighborhood. Like, Shadow, your brain is going to some real good limiting belief excuse
I'm just
places.
saying,
Like,
I was
see
sitting
it.
here
you
like,
live in
where
a
the hell
beautiful
does she
area.
live?
Why? Yeah, why would it be security? And people are videoing themselves all the time.
I know.
If
People
I'm
who
videoing
aren't thinking
myself
about
in the
that because they're
park, I'm
silly.
annoying. Listen, if you're videoing yourself in the subway car during rush hour, yes, you're annoying.
Yeah,
But if
right.
you're videoing yourself in a park during the day, you are annoying no one. Trust me, nobody's looking at
I
you.
have
And
videoed
nobody
myself in a
cares.
library. I had Wi-Fi
Amazing.
issues once, so I went to the library and recorded a podcast. The people probably did not like me.
Yeah, and what was your other? So your excuse was it's a security risk. I'm annoying other people. Oh, and my phone isn't good enough.
Yeah.
Everybody's phone is good enough unless
Yeah.
you have a flip phone.
And even then, like that
Right?
might look, it might be like retro cool to film something on your flip phone just to see the
Yeah.
graininess of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like my phone, yeah, it's 6 years old, I realized recently. So right now my phone doesn't show like all the emojis. So like friends will like, send me like you were like texting back and forth and they send me back an emoji and I always just go like LOL, even though I don't know what the emoji is. Like
What if they send you a
negative or
sad face
one.
emoji and you're like, LOL?
Because all I get is like the square with the X, and
Yeah.
like if you've ever had a phone that kind of gets a little bit older, you're, delaying replacing it, you'll know what I mean by the square emojis.
But see, that's like funniness in like this is what we try and do in this podcast too. We try to make it fun and find some humor in some things, but we can also move through like deep emotions as well. So I also want to validate that this is very deep for you and I'm here for you and I love you.
Thank you.
But sometimes we can let go of things for humor thing too. You can be like, oh, the security risk, that's ridiculous. And now I've let it go because that is a ridiculous excuse.
I'm just saying it's another way people blame or victim blame women if they ever get kidnapped. They'll be like, well, she was posting on her TikTok of where she lived. So then
so that's the discussion
her.
we should be having. Not saying I'm not going to do it because I'm going to still feed the male preconditioned bias that if anything did ever happen to me, they would blame me. So I'm going to jump off the ledge of the platform, take my power back, know that it's not a security risk and nobody deserves to judge me over that.
Fair.
F those male preconditioned biases and that blame and shame game. Here's something then. By you doing it, you're taking the power back and stopping that conversation. If you want to think about it that way. If you want to think about it that way, you're actually doing a very powerful move by doing that.
True. Yeah.
Do you want to say anything else about it, Amanda, before you? Yeah, great feedback.
I'm proud of you for sharing it and being vulnerable about it. But I think just starting somewhere is the biggest key. Whatever works best for you. Maybe even that's pictures. Maybe that's pictures on your story.
Right.
Starting somewhere. And that's something I try to emphasize with every area of life. Like whatever you want to do or you want to change, people want to start with the whole picture. That's not gonna work.
Totally. Yeah.
Like I've never been somebody that can do that. Like
Mm,
I used to be almost 200 pounds at one point and I lost a lot of weight. I
right.
started just walking.
Right.
Literally, I walked every day for 2 months. That's all I
Mm,
did for the first 2 months was walk.
mm-hmm.
And I slowly started to lose weight. Then I went
Right.
to a gym and it's like, I didn't even change my eating right away. And I had trainers say,
Mm.
you can't do that. And I said, you want to watch me?
Yeah, you have to go.
Yeah.
People tell you have to go all in, right?
So, like,
Yeah.
Small and slow solutions. That's what I say. And the slow is the key part, right?
yeah,
So a lot of people say small and simple solutions, which I agree with too, but I really like saying small and slow solutions too, because you can take as much time as you need. But the thing
yeah.
that matters is that you're taking action, right? And it can be a really
Mhm.
small, tiny action, and then you're feeding yourself to do it.
Even like I mentioned a picture. Like if you're not fully comfortable with the video, so
Mhm.
post a picture every day with how you're
Right.
feeling for 3 days. Then do the video. Like work your
Right.
way, whatever you think you can do consistently and just start it.
Nice.
You
Yeah, no,
can,
those are
yeah.
very good tips. I look forward to embracing these changes soon-ish.
We look forward to liking and commenting on them.
I'll be on
Nice.
the lookout for them on
Great.
Instagram.
Thank you for your share, Shadow. And as always, your shares are relatable. We have a lot of small business owners out there that listen to us, and
Mhm.
sharing yourself is vulnerable. Period. Whether you choose to come onto a podcast, whether you put a picture of yourself up on Instagram, and
Mhm.
in this society, we think it's not vulnerable because everybody's doing it, and we have social media and whatever, right? But to just acknowledge that it feels vulnerable. And because it feels vulnerable, it's an act of power. It's an act of
Mhm.
empowerment.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing,
Oh,
Shadow.
thank you both
Yeah.
for really good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Amanda, are you ready to share?
I am.
Amanda, do you have like a pre-story that you want to tell before you tell your regret?
Yeah, a little bit. I do.
Okay, give it to us.
So I want to rewind a little bit to 2019, the end of it, right before COVID began. I was living in a pretty toxic living situation. I was living with my ex boyfriend. And now, when I say that, everybody thinks I mean ex boyfriend now. We lived together for 9 months while we were broken up, shared a bed.
Mm.
It was very challenging. That being said, any opportunity I had to be out of the apartment, I was. Didn't matter where I was, what I was doing. If I could leave, I was leaving. Just so much tension. That being said, I was also on different dating apps at the time and wasn't really pursuing a boyfriend per se, but I had this weird living situation. So I didn't want to go on a date anywhere nearby where I was,
Mm.
where I lived,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want anyone who even knew this ex boyfriend to tell him, which him being my ex boyfriend, it should not have mattered. But there was a lot of toxicity there, a lot of tension there. That being said, I had been on these different dating apps, meeting different people. I met a guy on a dating app and we agreed we were going to go to dinner. No big thing. Also, around this time, I had gotten into the gym a lot more than I ever was. I had lost a lot of weight. I was eating a lot differently, eating less as well. I decided I was going out with this guy, super excited. He offered to pick me up. Naturally, I couldn't have him pick me up because didn't want the ex to know. I chose to meet him at a restaurant that was about 30 minutes away because I purposely didn't want to be too close. Then the night came. I also at the time I decided I was going to take a break from drinking. I was going this month without drinking any alcohol. It had been about 3 weeks because it was actually exactly 3 weeks. It was January 21st. And I've struggled with alcohol on and off. I've definitely had different issues with alcohol. Um, Now he got to the restaurant probably an hour before I did. By the time I arrived, he had already had a few drinks. I sat down, we ate, we were talking, fine. I ended up getting one martini. Saw a woman across the bar had one. It looked really good. Got one martini. And the last thing I remember from that night was I asked him his opinion on if he thought four martinis was too many. I ended up having three. And he said, no, of course not. I'll buy it for you. $6 martini. Then I didn't remember what happened the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And I I regret that. I don't remember leaving the bar. The next thing I remember is I woke up and I was handcuffed to a hospital bed. And I had no idea why. I had no idea what had happened, what hospital I was in. I had no idea anything. They came in, the hospital staff came in. Then I was informed that I was going to be taken to the police department. I didn't even know why at this point. They asked me if I wanted to make a phone call. And naturally, I thought I could be picked up at the police station and go home. Didn't register with me. So I called the ex-boyfriend and I got in a car accident. I'm at the hospital, but they're bringing me to this police station. I need you to pick me up. He's like, oh my God, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. So fast forward a little bit, they bring me to the police station and nothing is still registering with me that I am being put under arrest. Still oblivious. They bring me to the police station and I was like, my ride's coming to get me. And they're like, your ride is coming to get you for what? And I was like, to go home. Like, what am they're like, you're not going home. And I was like, I have to go to work at 7 a.m. And at this point, it was like probably 4:30 in the morning.
Mm.
And they said to me, well, if you want to make some more phone calls, you can, but you're going to court for 8. So, and I said, okay. So made some more phone calls, didn't end up going to work. And this ended up being a big learning experience for me in all areas because now this happened in January of 2020. So you get a mandatory hard loss of a license for 2 months. Then that brings us to March of 2020 when COVID began. So I was without a license for even longer because then I ran into the issue of you can't come into the DMV because I lived in one state and worked in another, even though it was on the border. And they're like, you have to be 14 days without being in a different state. What do you want me to do? Not go to work for 2 weeks? And they're like, yeah, there's nothing we can tell you. So I went, it was over 60 days. It was probably 4 months without a license at all.
Oof.
Then I got what was called an intoxilock that had to be installed in the car. Also, the car that I originally had, I totaled it completely, could not drive it. My mom ended up so graciously giving me her vehicle. And I got this intoxilock installed in it because that was the other thing. You have a mandatory sentence of an intoxilock, like a breathalyzer that you breathe in to start the car. But if it's an 8-month sentence, it doesn't start till the day you put it in the vehicle.
Okay.
So that being said, I had a totaled car. Well, until I were to have gotten myself a car, your intoxiloc's timing is not starting. So you wait 6 months until you get a car. That's when it's going to start. So all these little, it was a lot. It was a lot. And it also brought upon a lot of surrender for me because I was without a car for so long. And now I lived with the ex-boyfriend, and he then became my Uber.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. That was just
No, it was fun. It was funny.
okay.
Yeah, it was. And then, yeah, that was from about, I probably went a total of 9-10 months dealing with between the not being able to drive, then the intoxiloc, and it was tough. And I'd say the consequences I'm missing out on due to holding on to this regret are honestly freedom, because I've told you both personally about this, but I can count on both my hands the amount of people that know this story.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely missing out on just feeling free, because it's just a part of my story. It doesn't make me who I am, but it's a part of how I got to where I am today. I likely wouldn't be who I am today without this experience. So while I regret it, at the same time, I know it led me to where I was meant to be. I did everything I could in that time, in that moment, with the tools I had at the time. And it's okay. That is who I was then. And I've grown in so many ways. And it's helped shape me. And I'm honestly really thrilled and relieved, because I'm now capable of sharing things that I'm not that proud of. And knowing it's okay. And I'm worthy of being vulnerable and helping, even if it's one other person, with sharing my story.
Thank you so much. I'm so moved right now, and I can see that Shadow is too. Do you want feedback, or do you just want to be heard?
I'd love feedback if you have any.
Oh my goodness. The first thing I want to say, and then Shadow, I'll let you jump in too, is it is so hard to be vulnerable. And that's part of the reason why we had the line. I did everything I could in that moment with the tools I have, because oh my gosh, when you're telling your story, like you didn't know that they weren't telling you anything, right? Like, and sometimes I think, like, how are you supposed to know what to do when these things happen? Like, you know, to make a phone call. You were already in a toxic place. Your life was probably already felt like it was spiraling. Like, I think there's so much power in sharing our shame, because when we share our shame, we're able to let it go. And it hurts us even more when we hold it in, right? And I'm just like so moved, and like just moved by your ability to share the story. So first off, I want to thank you. And second off, I really want to point out, like, you really did everything you could with the tools that you had. You were a different person then, because like you literally don't know. I mean, okay, here's all the things that I see. Like, you have a new body. You don't understand how you metabolize alcohol. You don't understand how you metabolize food. You've lost a bunch of weight. You're emotionally in this place of transition. You don't know who you can lean on, so you don't feel supported. You don't know who to call. You didn't even know you could call. You're on a date with someone that you don't know that well, and he's thinking like, yeah, you can have an. First of all, he should have said, no, you shouldn't have another drink, and he shouldn't have bought it for you, right? Like, because of course I have a story about men feeding me drinks that didn't turn out great either, right? But like, you had so many things working against you, but the thing is, you're here today, and that's a huge win. that's a massive win, because we can go to very dark places when we feel shame, and you persevered. I mean, probably didn't feel like you persevered at the time, but you moved through every single step to get here. Like, oh my gosh, the thing about not being able to leave the state for 14 days.
The states are like it's 20 minutes away. And I even said to the person, I was like, can I give you a note from my boss? And he's like, no. And I was like, I can't, even more so. I have all these bills from the attorney, from the this. I can't afford to not work for 2 weeks.
Well,
And he was
yeah,
like,
and like I think about it in the States. I mean, you have 50 states, we have 10 provinces. So it must be really common for people to
in some
live
states,
in one
yeah.
state and work in another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because
Like,
I was only 20 minutes away
yeah.
from the job. So even though it's crossing the state, it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then like all the red tape around like getting the thing in your car and getting a car, like it's just, it's a lot. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but like shame as I am a bad thing, and guilt as I did a bad thing. And I really, really strongly believe that shame is an invention of modern society. We're supposed to feel all the emotions except for shame, because we can't really learn from that. We're just beating ourselves up. But if you feel guilt or regret, you can say, okay, but I can let go of that guilt or regret because it was a learning experience for me. And what did I learn, and how am I going to behave differently in the future? Right. And so sounds like you've been able to turn your shame into regret, which again is the first step. And the second step now is we're letting that regret go, acknowledging what you've learned and acknowledging that it shaped you. And that is so, so powerful. And it's so powerful for people to hear that, because it's work to get there. And I want to acknowledge all the work and your vulnerability and the power that you've displayed today.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for that. Shadow?
Yeah, the two things that really jumped out to me was you were saying like you were taking any opportunity to leave the house. And which makes sense. You're in such a like, and then, so okay, now you're on this date with this guy, and like I get it. The drinks are flowing, you're having a good time. You want to be cool. Like, who doesn't want to be cool on a first date? And why do we like equate drinking with being cool? I know
it's a martini too. Like,
yeah,
what's cooler to
cool
drink?
and glamorous.
Like, what glass
like...
is cooler than a martini? It's the coolest drink you could possibly get. Like it's almost like the equivalent of a cigarette. It just makes you cool as soon as it's in your hand, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to talk to you just about like, you were already in, I think, like, I don't want to overuse this kind of language either, but like you were kind of in fight or flight mode permanently at that time. It sounds to me like you were never not in fight or flight.
It's really true.
That's a really hard place to live in, Amanda. That hurts, right? So I just want you to like, again, just like give that younger version of you like the biggest hug, because like she was just crying out to say, hey, like I can't keep doing this. And so like, again, I feel like it's so interesting the way like, again, it seems like this big mistake, but maybe it was this big, like, I don't know, like, I don't even know what else to call it, but other than just like this moment where you were like, like there's all these different versions of you kind of coming together in that one moment. And now you've like splintered off. If I'm understanding it correctly. And then I'm curious, was the rule around this, I don't know why I'm so obsessed with this too. The rule around the 14 days thing, was that specific to COVID, or is that always the rule?
It
So
was
it
COVID.
was specific
and
to
it
COVID.
was because before masks were even a thing, because
Right.
it was March of 2020.
Oh, what an awkward time.
And even the guy was like, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like,
right.
I don't know what to do. And you couldn't cross state lines. And I was like, but I only crossed them for work. And I was like, I'm gonna persevere, and I'm gonna convince this man. I stood outside that DMV for 10 minutes, and I was like, it even let me book an appointment. And he was like, it doesn't matter. And I was like,
do you know what's amazing? That's like grit and perseverance right there too, right?
Yeah.
Like you're literally in the middle
him.
of crisis. You're literally in the middle of crisis, probably feeling shame, but you're still like, I can work through this. I can move through this. I'm gonna problem solve here. Like, that's takes an incredible amount of strength,
Thank you.
right? Like an incredible, most people would just shut down and crawl in a hole. Like for me, that's shame. That's right. And you, wow, like it's actually incredible that you, and I'm sure you felt moments of shame and it wasn't perfect. And we're not trying to glorify your story and say it's perfect, because you made a mistake, right? And you have to take ownership of the mistake. And this is the other thing too. In life, sometimes when we hold on to shame or we bury it, we're losing the opportunity to admit we made a mistake. And there's so much healing when we say I made a mistake. And there's also so much healing in apologizing. And I can honestly say there's so many people in my life that I'm like, if they just said sorry for those things, like their life would be so much easier. Or like if we could just admit that we're not perfect, and like sharing these types of stories too. I know there's at least one person listening to this right now going, oh my gosh, I made a huge mistake in my life too. And like Amanda sounds like an incredible person and she persevered through it. Like we make mistakes, but we have to own them. But it doesn't mean we have to own them forever. It doesn't mean we have to own them as shame or we have to wear them like a scarlet letter. It means we have to own them, apologize for them, and then forgive ourselves and move through. Because I mean, if you have that much stress, like I agree, Shadow, you were in fight, flight, or freeze, like permanently, you're not going to make good decisions. Your brain's not going to guide you to make good decisions. It's only going to guide you to make decisions that make you feel good in the moment.
Yeah.
Or that help you avoid.
Even like that, I was avoiding. Let's go far away. Let's get away from.
Yeah. Right. But you've like shown like incredible, I don't know how many amazing words can we throw at you, Amanda? Fortitude, grit, resilience, whatever. But to say like this happened, it shaped me. And then I want to point out what you do with your life now. You teach people breath work. You help people connect to themselves. You help people with mindset. You have a podcast where you talk about mindset shifting. Like you have grown into a centered person that's acknowledging people aren't perfect, but here's some tools that you can use to help you feel centered and grounded in the moment and make better decisions. That's amazing.
Thank you. I can say I'm just trying to, even though I haven't previously shared this story publicly, trying to help people realize that like a lot of times it's the different experiences, whether it's a really great one or a really shitty one, that shifts you. That shifts you internally. It's either the best experiences or the worst experiences, and you're different.
Yeah, I think of it this way sometimes. I've said this before about trauma, like big T trauma versus little T trauma. But I love what you're saying too, because it can be big life experiences versus small ones too. But like the way that I know if this is a moment that's going to shift me or looking back is like, I'm like, this is Victoria before this happened, and this is Victoria after it happened. And you're totally right, Amanda. I love that. Like, this is Victoria before that trauma happened or that mistake. But then you can also be like, this is Victoria before I got married and after I got married. That's a big positive thing in my life. So that's a really great tool. Thank you, to be able to look back and be like, here's the really good, great, like amazing things in my life that has shifted me. And here's the other things. But I can say this was me before and this was me after, and I can actually reflect and see the shift. I love that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Because I'm sure there's even great experiences that you're like, even besides your marriage, like other different things, even the podcast. You were both probably different after starting the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We've go back and listen to our very first episode and you'll be like, it's a totally different podcast. Like,
yeah, it's
I think our second
everything.
or third episode was like, I regret plucking my eyebrows, and Shadow's like, I regret doing a face mask that made my skin bad. Like, we're just like, like we were like dipping our toes in. But now Shadow, here we go, full circle moment. We were dipping our toes in. Now we're diving off the diving board into the pool, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I would say like it's already like just again this past trip I was on, I was hanging out with an old friend and she was, venting to me about something, and I was like, okay, do you want my advice? Because like I'm trying to ask that question more often, but instead of just like jumping right in. And she was like, no. And then I was like, okay. And then like we moved, but then she's like looking on my face and she's like, okay, tell me.
But you did it, Shadow. Like it's hard to do, right? You were like, okay. And I'm sure in your head you were like, but I really want to. But you still
Yeah,
like
and she
respected her
let me
boundaries.
after she said no, but like it was just so funny the way I was like, I don't think I would have ever asked before this podcast. Yeah, and I guess the only other thing I'm like so curious about, and you can let me know if you want to answer it or not. What about the guy from that date? Have you ever talked to him again?
There's a whole story there. So, after I crash into 3 parked cars, I wake up in the hospital bed. I get my phone the next morning after court. I barely make it back to the apartment in time because it's dead. I had him on Snapchat and I had his phone number and I was blocked on both.
As if,
Then
come on.
the paralegal in me found him on Facebook and I sent him a message and I was like, what happened last night? And he was like, you lied to me and that wasn't cool. And I was like, bro, I lied. The last thing I remember is saying is 4 drinks too many. Then I was handcuffed to a hospital bed. And then I was like, I tried texting you a picture and it didn't go through. And it was of my totaled car. And he was like, that's too bad. And then I sent the car and he goes, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I'm fine though. Thanks.
Wow, that's awful. My gosh.
Like my spidey sense brain goes to like men over giving drinks to women and predatory behavior and stuff, right? And like that's just where my spidey sense goes. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm also not like this might sound weird, but like I'm not trying to be harsh, but like it's also like the blame isn't on him. Like part of the blame's on him, but we take responsibility for our actions too, right?
Yeah.
I have a curious question in terms of, and I think the listeners might want to hear it too, is first of all, I want to say, like, in every moment along the way, you described it so well. Like, it must have been so fucking scary every single step. Like, you must just be like, I don't know what's going on. What do you mean I'm not going home? Like, oh my God.
Oh, it was
like,
terrifying. Even at the police station, I wasn't allowed to wear my bra and my shirt overnight in the cell. And I was freezing. So I couldn't have all of it. I had just my coat and I couldn't wear underwear and pants. So I had just pants because I'm not going to sit in the cell in my underwear and my coat.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they let you have underwear?
I don't know. I
get
have
the bra because there's metal on it or something.
I couldn't have 2 layers of anything. I couldn't have 2 layers of anything.
Layers. Interesting.
They were worried I was going to hurt myself.
Like we don't. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like I get that you could tie a bra around your neck or something, which sounds terrible, but like but my next curious question is, well, like you must have just like been disembodied. Like you must have just, it's so funny how the brain works when you're going through like tragedy or like just like complete, like your brain will still say to you, okay, what's the next step? Okay, I guess I'm here now. Okay, I guess I'm here now. Okay, I guess I'm here now. Like we innately have survival skills within us, which is interesting. But really my last curious question is, how did you start your healing process and what did you do? What was it like? Was there a moment you're like, I'm going to heal from this? Or would you just keep going, okay, here's the next step. Okay, here's the next step. And then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you go, I've done all these steps and I'm ready to start healing more. Or like, how was that process? And you're still in it, obviously, by coming here today and telling the story on our podcast. But like, what was that kind of process like for you? And was there any like aha moments for you or skills that you learned that you're like, this meant so much to me and has helped me so much? Or
so I will say, like you both have mentioned, I was really in fight or flight even for a little bit post after, because it happened in January and I lived with the ex and he drove me around until August.
Oh.
So I didn't start driving myself again until August. So
you couldn't heal then. You were still in this just like situation that was probably just putting you on edge every single day.
Yeah, no, it really was. And then he moved out And that was a big help because
Mhm.
I had somewhere that I could just be basically by myself in peace. And I will say, like, people talk about how environment is a big factor. You
Hmm.
don't realize it until you're out of the negative environment, but
Hmm.
environment shapes so much,
Mhm.
so much, like everything. So he left and that helped. Then I did a workshop with this man called David G. It was a meditation workshop and it was like a 3 week every day you meditate. And now prior to that,
Mm.
I didn't meditate. Like it
Oh, wow.
wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Um, I just, I don't know. I don't
You're
meditate.
like,
What do
let's
you mean
try
meditate?
this. Everybody's talking about mindfulness. Let's see if this works.
It, it was actually, there was a guy, his name's Mike Dooley, and I can't remember all the stuff he's founded,
Mm.
but he hosted this David G on his thing, and he talks about how thoughts become things. And I'm a big believer in that. And he's written books, and I've done a bunch of different workshops of him. I'm like, okay, meditation, sure. I don't know,
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
did a
Mhm.
manifestation one. I did a law of attraction. I did a visualization. All these different random ones. Sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like this one book that this guy, and then I run with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and it really helped me get into meditation because he talks about, and this is something that stuck with me, is how those three things that can happen when you meditate. You can experience thoughts, you can experience stillness, or you can fall asleep.
Hmm.
And you might experience all three when you're meditating.
And they're all positive. Like they're all healing. They're all healing.
But hearing that was something that really helped me because I would think, oh, I'm going to meditate, quote unquote. And I'd sit there and like my thoughts would be running. I'm a very go, go, go person. I'm always like
Mm.
kind of a workaholic. So like I'm always thinking of something. So then I'm like,
Mhm.
I got thoughts. I can't meditate. So I just never really. But when I heard these are the three things that can happen, it's normal. You're going to meditate. You're going to have thoughts. You probably fall asleep and you'll probably experience stillness too.
It's so
Great.
Mhm.
interesting you say that because that was the thing that like the excuse or limiting belief or whatever you want to call it that prevented me from starting to meditate was I always saw it and kind of the way that it was portrayed as I was growing up or is often portrayed or the like misconception about it. People think it's about clearing your mind.
Mhm.
And or like there's kind of like meditations that are guided and they're visualizations. And I think that's a really great place to start, or even if that's what you do the whole time, because it can be really difficult to do just like a quiet meditation with no thoughts because it's unnatural and takes years and years of practice, right? And so most
Mhm.
people won't even start because they think that's what it is. And visualization and a guided meditation can be just as powerful. And you don't even have to move on to, I don't even think it's the next step. It's just another way of doing it, of the like just quietness with nothing. Because and once I kind of learned that, I love what you're saying is like, oh, and these are the things that I can feel. I can feel stillness, or I could fall asleep and have a deep sleep in a meditative state. And those are good deep sleeps. Or I could experience thoughts, but maybe somebody's guiding me through those thoughts. Or maybe I actually hear thoughts coming out of my subconscious brain and I learned something about myself that I didn't know because I've been ignoring my thoughts. All of
Mhm.
those things are amazing, but it doesn't have to be 4 hours up on a mountain of total quietness. Like meditation can be so many things and be equally as powerful. So I love what you're saying. So would you say
Yeah.
that's kind of like where that's kind of where it started? And then is that where you grew into the breathing goddess and grew into the breathing stuff and that kind of stuff?
Not really,
Oh, I want to
actually.
hear your journey then. How did it go?
So I did that meditation workshop, loved it. It was great. I started meditating more. It wasn't like a very consistent thing for me though, but I was doing it more so.
Hmm.
And then fast forward a little bit, about 2 years, I went and did ayahuasca
Oh,
and it changed my
interesting.
life. It changed my life.
Wow.
Everybody that like has talked about it or books or like I read the Michael Pollan book and most people say it's like 7 years of therapy in 3 days or something like that. What was your personal experience, or if whatever you want to share, you don't have to share.
Yeah. So everybody has a different experience. And even being there with all the people, it was kind of wild to see everyone's different experience. But me personally, every single experience I have ever experienced in my life came to my head throughout this weekend, whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether I previously remembered it, whether I didn't previously remember it. I thought about everything. And I journaled probably 90 pages of stuff. I wrote letters to people in my life. I made all these plans of things I was going to do, things I was going to say. I quit my job on the spot following ayahuasca. Oh, yeah.
So would you say that was like the starting of your healing, or even the starting and finishing of your healing? But that was like the heal. So it's interesting because
I also discovered breathwork from ayahuasca
because I don't know a lot about it. I know some from like documentaries and books that I've read and things, and I've always been curious about it in some ways, is that you have to do it the right way though. It's like set and setting, right? Like, so you go and you need somebody to guide you through it, and there needs to be people there to make sure that you're safe, that you're physically safe, emotionally safe, all those sorts of things. And it seems to be like a fad where a lot of people are talking about it more, about plant medicine, but like I still believe and think that you have to do it right and do your research and do it in a place that's going to make you feel safe and medically safe and all the sorts of things. My mind just went on a tangent, but I love what you're saying though, is that you had the time to do it and that you journaled and you did all these things. And that's just like, that's really interesting. Yeah. And it worked for you.
Yeah, no, it did.
Yeah.
And I experienced one type of breath work at the ayahuasca ceremony, and I released so much. I released like a really painful thing that was said to me by a past partner that I was still so upset over. I cried it, I released it, and then I was like, wow, this is intense. Then I stepped away from breath work. I'm like, plant medicine, breath work. I quit my job. I reached out to my father I've never met. We need to chill.
I've done enough of the big healing now. I'm just going to be kind and gentle to myself. Yeah. It's a process. Yeah.
So then no plant medicine, no breath work for about 6 months. And then a friend of mine who I had gone to yoga classes with, and I was posting on Instagram about yoga, she's like, you have to try breath work detox. I'm like, yeah, I'll try it one day. Thinking, I know how to breathe. I've already done one type.
Yeah, that's what people think. Yeah, I know how to breathe. Yeah.
Really? Okay. And it's funny because she started talking to me about it in October, and I'm like, I'll come one day. I'll literally kind of brushing her off. Fast forward to January, it was the anniversary of my grandma's passing, and I was like, I don't want to sit home. And she was hosting a breathwork. I was like, I'm going to go to this. I told my mom, and she's like, you're going to sit in silence for an hour and a half? Because I was like, it's kind of like meditating. I don't know. She's like, so you're going to sit in silence for an hour and a half? I was like, sure, I don't know. With a group of people. We're just going to sit there. And she goes, and you're paying to sit with 10 people? And listen, I don't know, Mom, but I'm getting out of the house. And it helped me so much. Nice. I was able to transform my grief to gratitude, honestly.
I love that, grief to gratitude.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm just writing some of this down, the thing that I was going to say was the breath work was part of the process with the ayahuasca, right? So that's what I'm saying. You did it in a place that taught you all of these tools too. And then the tools moved with you into your life afterwards too.
Yes. And I've also now been certified.
Think that's a good way to do it, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
I just want to make sure. So you've now been certified. I caught that. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what was that process like? Like becoming certified?
I went to Utah for a week, and they taught us so much. And yes, you see how to like hold space, but you also, they had us do different challenges to even transmute fear into excitement. We had to, one of the questions prior to going, we had to list, if we were stranded on an island, what one song would we listen to? Well, you had to perform this one song in front of everybody. And they didn't tell you that. We were also all dressed in Halloween costumes. And they didn't tell you that you were going to have to perform until
making you vulnerable, right? Like making you experiences those. Can I ask you what your song was?
Fight Song by Rachel Platten. It was Fight Song. Fight Song by Rachel Platten.
Nice.
Shadow, did a song come for you? As soon as she said it, my brain went to
Knowing this extra detail of it, I think I would be really scared. Because I would have picked like the song I want to listen to, and it would be totally different than a song I'd be comfortable performing in front of people. All right, sorry.
Okay, my song is Wonderwall by Oasis.
Oh, nice.
As soon as you said it, I was like, I know my song.
Luckily for me, I knew the words to my song pretty well. It's one I like. It's one I didn't know what we were doing. In my eyes, I sounded pretty good because I really knew the words.
You've had such incredible experiences that have stemmed out of the regret you shared today, but I know this is turning into just a big love fest now, but like you've had like such like incredible experiences, and you've really, I think you're like a really great example, and like example for me too, of like leaning into like your shame or your mistakes or your things, but then like really growing. But you've gone really deep into healing and really deep into it too, and that we're human beings, we're gonna make mistakes. You've really shown us like how you can heal, and just thank you. You're amazing. Just thank you. What did I say at the beginning of this podcast? I said every guest we've had has been just incredible. And like it's just oh my God, just being the host or co-host is just like just as healing as listening to like our guests. And thank you. I want to thank you so much. And I think we could probably talk for 4 more hours. So if you're up for it someday, we'd love to have you back on. I'll put that out there because I think we could just continue to have some great conversations. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. I want to give the last word to you. Is there anything else that you want to say? What has this experience been like you? How are you feeling now? And I also want to give you a chance to give yourself a shout out. So tell our listeners where they can maybe follow you on social media, where they can learn about breath work, where they can find you. So yeah, check out and tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Thank you so much. I really love that you guys do this. I think it's so beautiful that you allow people the opportunity to share like their regrets. Like honestly, love this. Absolutely love this. And I did go back and forth a little bit when I saw you posting about am I ready to share this? Am I ready to share this? And then again, it was this make the decision, and something that was said to me on my own podcast about a woman that shared something she was vulnerable about was detach yourself from it. It's not your identity. It's an experience. How many other people in the world have had that experience, whether you know they had it or not? So anybody listening, whether you share your regrets or not, there's billions of people in the world. I promise you on my life, somebody else has experienced the same regret. But yeah, thank you guys again so much. I really, really appreciate it. And you guys can connect with me. Best place is Instagram. I'm at the Breathing Goddess, or you can connect with me on Facebook, Amanda Russo. TikTok is the Breathing Goddess. Instagram is the best place though, because you can find out about breathwork sessions directly. I have my link on there. And yeah, you can check out Amanda's Mindset as well. My podcast is on any of the major platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's like a line that we say every day, right? So, and we will put all of those links and all of those details in the show notes. So look at the show notes, click on those links, and give Amanda some support, some love. Check out what she's doing, because obviously she's doing really incredible things. And now I feel a little shy about doing this, but we're going to finish with our 3 breaths of letting go.
I love this.
And each season we do a different set of 3 breaths. It's really just taking an intentional breath and talking to yourself. And so, Amanda, you've never heard these ones because this episode is part of our new season that we haven't published yet. So if you've heard, I know you've heard some of our breath in our last episode, but these ones are different. So come on to the front edge of your seat, everybody. Put your feet flat on the floor if it is safe for you to do so. If you're driving, please just breathe and stay focused. If you want, you can place your hand on your heart and give it a rub, and close your eyes if it is safe for you to do so. Just taking a moment to feel the points of contact that you have with the earth, your feet on the floor, your back on the backrest of a chair. And just acknowledging that the earth is always supporting you. Gravity will never let you fly away. So taking a breath, and as you exhale, sink down into those points of contact, knowing that you're sinking into the palm of the earth's hand. And you are supported just by being a human being on the face of the planet. And in this safe, cocooned space, we're going to call in some abundance into our lives, taking a big breath in and a big breath out, saying to yourself, I know forgiveness may be challenging, but it can also be liberating. I'm calling in the humility to allow it to enter my life and experience how it transforms me. And on this second breath, taking a big breath in and big exhale, I recognize that my body holds immense wisdom. It can guide me towards healing and wellness. I'm calling in the ability to listen to my body and learn from it. And on this last breath, taking a big breath in and a big exhale, I am choosing to believe that I am magnificent. I'm calling in joy, connection, strength, and love. Thank you so much to Amanda and her incredible strength and vulnerability, because you can be two things at the same time, and you certainly were today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you in the next one, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
This episode of Let's Relieve Regret was produced by Shadow Ball and Victoria Muir-Bercia.
Editing by me, Victoria Muir-Bercia.
We are an independent podcast supported by you, our listeners.
If you think this podcast sends a valuable message, you had an aha moment, or learned something new about yourself, help us realize our goal of reaching as many listeners as possible.
We encourage you to take action and support us right now by choosing one of the following options.
You can easily support us by
following us on Instagram at relieve.regret.
Tell 2 friends.
Leave a 5-star review on whatever app you're listening to us on.
Leave a tip at coffee.com/Let's Relieve Regret podcast. That's ko-fi.com/Let's Relieve Regret podcast.
Join our conversations in the Facebook group, Let's Relieve Regret Podcast.
Find all this information, all the links, and more in the podcast notes. Okay, bye.
Bye.